Alright. Oh. Bone broth. Good for when you're sick. And for when you're recovering. This is actually chicken mushroom bone broth, and it's very good. From my Tzatziki cup. Yeah. That's an inside joke from a long time ago. Alright, check the microphone here. Boy, oh boy, I don't know what this is going to be like. Down there is my monitor, so my eye line keeps going down there to check framing and stuff. You know, make sure I look my gorgeous self for all you fine folks watching these videos. I don't know what I'm saying. I'm dizzy right now. So, this is not the video I wanted to make this week. But hey, we pick up pieces and we hammer them into some kind of shape and we just keep moving forward. Because the world ain't stopping for nobody. Game on. Just doing that intro made me dizzy. Oh boy. Ooh, that's good. So, yeah, got a little bit of a Christmas present here from my sister. She got me all these cool bracelets because I was like, you have all those cool bracelets. I want some cool bracelets. And of course, you can't wear a bracelet unless it like means something to you, right? Like somebody gave it to you. I mean, you just bought a bracelet yourself and you wear it. That's just kind of weird, right? Good Lord. What is this video? Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes things go awry and we do what we do best. We roll downhill with or without the punches. And we thank our patrons for keeping the faith on into this new year that may or may not be one of the best. We'll have to wait and see, right? And yeah, I probably sound a little different today. I don't know. We're going to get into that. So this will sound like a familiar story, I'm sure. Everything was going great. I was getting stuff done. Day job had a break in it for the holidays. I had this one thing I was pretty excited to work on. And then, wouldn't you know it, I got the flu. Now, just from the folks in my own orbit here, there seemed like a lot of people were getting this. Yeah, you might just have to bear with me on this one. This is going to be a little bit of a relaxed. It's going to be sort of a funky video here. That bone broth is good. I should do advertisements for this place. I don't even remember what the name of the thing's called. I want to say kettle corn, but it's not kettle corn. But there's two words. They both start with K. The first one is kettle. No, I could be completely wrong. It might be kettle and fire. I don't know. It's good bone broth. Anyway, so how many times am I going to say anyway? Oh my goodness. I can't believe I'm even doing this right now. It is New Year's Eve, by the way. Just to sort of lock this in some kind of time flow or something, you know? It's not quite New Year's here. It's like 8 o'clock at night. New Year's Eve. Anyway, carrying on. So, just from the folks in my own orbit here, seemed like a lot of people came down with this same crazy holiday fever thing. Fun fact, I rarely get sick. I don't know why. I've just been lucky. That may be changing, as things do, but rarely is not never. And this particular flu thing hit me like a literal Mack truck. I mean, I remember watching the clock on my stove when it happened. In literally 20 minutes, I went from feeling absolutely fine to bone shakes and shivers. And an hour later, I was in bed with some kind of nutso fever. I mean, it was boiling under those blankets. And I still wasn't warm enough, right? And then like 8 hours later, the fever broke, and then I was just bedridden for like the next 36 hours. Now, the weirdest thing through all of that was I was starving. I kept having to get up like every 4 hours to make a burrito. Black beans, salsa, and cheese. Yeah, that's the only way to roll a burrito. Anyway, during this bout of illness, I observed something that's always been there, I think. I just happened to notice and pay particular attention to it this time. So, prior to being sick, I had all these projects I was working on, right? You know, I got my photos I've been working on. I got some silver bayonet stuff coming up. I've got some miniatures I'm ready to talk about. I've got some other things in development, one of which I thought was going to be today's video. And I'm like pretty excited to be working on this stuff, to the point that I was kind of having trouble sleeping. My brain would be racing and I couldn't wait to work on this or that, and not sleeping probably had its own detrimental effects on my health. But anyway, when I was down in it, and I mean down in the bottom of the barrel, I distinctly remember thinking that all this stuff I was working on, all this creativity and desire and quest for art, all this stuff just sounded like utter nonsense. I remember thinking how none of it was worth a damn. Everything was a waste of time. I didn't even like half the stuff I was doing. It was all just garbage. And it didn't matter one bit if it all just went away. I mean, because I was sick, right? I mean, the only thing I wanted was to sleep and just not feel terrible. Now, as I came swimming slowly back up out of the sweaty sheets and I was able to get out of bed and actually start feeling better, I paid close attention to those thoughts I'd had regarding all my projects. And I watched as those thoughts shifted and changed back to the way I had previously felt about those projects. Like my enthusiasm returned. I stopped thinking they were a waste of time. Generally, my emotional response to those projects returned to normal. And I find this super fascinating. It means a few different things, I think. Now, strangely enough, as I write this script here, and we're doing this time dilation thing again because I wrote the script on a different day and now I'm reading it on another day. Anyway, let me just read it as I wrote it, okay? Let me just do my thing, okay? I'm getting on with it. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm literally almost hallucinating right now. Strangely enough, as I wrote this, I was going on my 6th day of vertigo, which is unfortunate. Now, I've been lucky for most of my life where I haven't really done anything to maintain health. I was born thin and energetic, and I just never really had to worry about health issues. And I know that's literally just a win in the genetic lottery. It has nothing to do with any choices I've made or anything like that. And now, maybe there's some, maybe there's some chickens coming home to roost. I don't know. But this vertigo nonsense is independent of the flu thing I had. I know this because I got my first bouts of vertigo a couple months ago. Feeling dizzy for no reason. It's so bizarre. But there's a difference between the psychological feelings about projects and creative enthusiasm as affected by the flu versus this vertigo garbage. In the depths of the flu, boy, I really felt like all the creative stuff was nonsense and just not worth pursuing, and it was stupid, and there was just all kinds of grim darkness there. Now, with this vertigo, it's not really affecting my mental chemicals in the same way, I guess. It's making it harder to work on things, absolutely, but it's not causing my fundamental feelings about those creative endeavors to change, really. Now, one of the biggest bummers about this whole observation of my flu-affected mental state is that I'm coming to the realization that exercise and eating healthy may be an unavoidable necessity. Yes, we can laugh at that, but what I mean is that it seems like to just be able to maintain artistic enthusiasm is going to require some level of physical health and physical health maintenance, which, trust me, is not something I've ever wanted to consider. I was perfectly happy to be unhealthy as long as I would still be enthusiastic about making and doing stuff. And we all know how much of a pain in the ass exercising is, and God forbid, eating healthy. Although, it's bone broth. But seriously, this bone broth is good. Bone broth is also expensive. So, yeah, but I got it on sale, and it's very good. They had all these different flavors and stuff, and anyway, there's some good bone broth and some bad bone broth, but this stuff, pretty good. All right, back to your regularly scheduled script. It's one thing to have dabbled in, healthy eating or exercise or whatever, just on whims or because I felt like it. It's another thing to have to consider having to do those things. Forming new habits is one of the most difficult things to do. Well, specifically forming new healthy habits is one of the toughest things to do. I mean, it's super easy to form unhealthy habits, right? We all know that. Another thing this observation has made me realize is that my empathy for folks who are experiencing depression or, I guess now, other physical ailments is really deepening. Like, if we know that the physical chemicals or whatever is going on during unhealthy moments or illness or whatever, if we know how that physical ailment affects our own enthusiasm and ability to imagine and just our general positivity level, dude, it's gotta suck to be under the influence of those chemicals all the time. And by extension, it's just less of a surprise that some folks just don't feel creative or inspired. And what do you do to fix that sort of thing? I have no idea. I mean, I just had a flu, which goes away on its own. I don't know what you do when you have something that doesn't go away. Speaking of something not going away, it's been almost a week since writing that portion of the script, and what happened is that the vertigo got pretty intense. There was one day I couldn't open my eyes for more than like 10 seconds, and that was the day I learned that my Spotify account includes audiobooks. Who knew? I listened to the Stephen King novel Holly. It was fine, but I really liked the narrator. I thought she was pretty great. Now I'm on to Warhammer 40k's famous book Xenos, which is the literary debut of the famous Inquisitor Eisenhorn. Now, thankfully, the day that I had to keep my eyes closed, I mean, there's only been one day where it's been that sort of strong. But still, of course, things have been fairly tough on the, hey, buck up and get things done side. I was reading about how some folks get stuck with this vertigo state for like weeks or months, and that was kind of freaking me out too. And of course, everyone I know was like, hey, aren't you going to urgent care? Why don't you go see a doctor? You know, why aren't you going to get help? And I guess the bottom line is, I really don't like going to doctors. That's about it. But I also have various opinions on certain things having to do with the U.S. healthcare system. But the bottom line is, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, I'm basically a procrastinator at heart. I always just want stuff to get better on its own. And from a lot of Google searching I've done regarding this vertigo stuff, it basically seems like you end up just having to wait it out anyway. But one day, my mom, of all people, who doesn't even live in this state, found a physical therapy doctor who specifically does house calls for people with vertigo. Now, when was the last time you heard of a doc that does house calls? So, yeah, I gave that dude a call, and he was super cool on the phone, and he literally came out the next day and examined me, and pretty quickly he was able to physically demonstrate and explain what I have, which is called vestibular neuritis, which in turn is universally believed by most doctors to be a viral infection of the inner ear. And it could have been triggered by that crazy flu I had, even though Doc Smith, the guy who made the house call for me, said that the fact that I've had these previous periodic bouts of vertigo is kind of weird. Anyway, he showed me some exercises to do to basically help my brain sort of realign the infected ear signals, I guess. I don't know. Here's two things that are pretty fascinating. One, learning what I have, being able to put a name to it, vastly improved my will to persevere, maybe? Basically, my will to get up out of the chair and, like, push through the dizziness. And two, the exercises actually helped, like, right away. Now, they didn't make the symptoms, like, go away, but they kind of, like, alleviated the symptoms. Now, that doesn't sound right. Alleviated makes them sound like they went away. They didn't really go away, but they allowed me to physically sort of rise up to and meet those symptoms and like deal with them and now function with the symptoms. That's my cat in the cat box in the back. Anyway, I did the exercises after he left, and I did them the next morning, and then I was able to drive to the store. Yeah, that's Rowan in her cat box. Alrighty then. And then I was able to drive to the store to pick up some groceries, and I hadn't been able to drive in over a week. Now, as far as the symptoms go, again, like I said, they haven't gone away, and I asked the doc, like, hey man, so isn't there like a pill or antibiotic or some kind of medicine to kick this stuff out of my head? And he was like, no, not really. He said, it's going to wear off on its own like a flu, but you can really help move it along by doing the exercises. So that's what I'm doing. So now I feel like I can fight back, I guess, for lack of a better term. So while I still feel dizzy, like even right now, a little bit, I can get up and go do whatever I want to do. I even got out my old rowing machine and dusted it off, and now I use it like every evening, like I did 3 years ago when I got it. And the rowing machine, strangely, doesn't affect my vertigo at all. As long as I'm just looking straight ahead, I don't even feel like I have vertigo while I'm rowing. And I asked the doc if it would be okay to use that machine. He said, yeah, dude, like anything cardio that you can do that doesn't make you feel like vomiting, any cardio would be great. It helps get blood flowing to the brain, and of course, it's generally a healthy thing to do anyway, right? So now I know I just got to push through this and wait it out. But since I'm breaking out the exercise machine, I guess I'll be looking at my diet and see if I can foster some new habits on the flip side of this whole thing. Because losing my enthusiasm for my artistic and creative projects, that was just a stretch too far. I did not enjoy that one little bit. And to see it change so drastically from one way of thinking to another and back, all just based on this physical virus attacking me, it was just startling and interesting. I mean, we've all heard the podcasts and news stories about how head injuries and other weird things can change a person's entire personality. But damn, to witness it in action from the inside, even just a tiny fractional version of that, well, unsettling and fascinating, I guess, sums it up. I mean, it's a pretty weird concept to acknowledge, right? That you might find yourself wanting to paint more Space Marines just because you did some push-ups in the morning. That sounds stupid and facetious, but it's crazy that it's actually not. It's pretty real, which doesn't make it any less bizarre, right? Although, probably from a wider, generally holistic view of life, it's not bizarre at all. It makes perfect sense. So, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what some exercise and maybe a tick healthier diet does for my hobbying. Such a weird concept. And again, this video was not the topic I had scheduled for today, but life just sure likes to throw them curveballs at us, right? So, I don't know. Go keep an eye on your creativity and inspiration and enthusiasm and see if you find any correlations to your physical well-being and those creative, inspirational, enthusiastic thoughts. And consider what those connections or correlations might mean. See ya. Oh, and Happy New Year. How cheesy was that? Tabletop alchemy. Get your spray can cheese here. I know. It's just regurgitating a joke from a different episode. Bone broth. All right. Let me go look and see what it is. This is not sponsored in any way, but this brand, which doesn't always have keto, I have some of these bone broth boxes that don't say keto. It's Kettle and Fire. I don't know where I'm looking. Anyway, so it is Kettle and Fire. This particular one is butter chicken bone broth, and it's actually pretty rich. It's good. This is the second one I've picked up of this flavor. The flavor that I'm actually drinking is the mushroom and chicken flavor. But it has all really good ingredients. On sale, I got it for $6.99 a bucket. A bucket? A box? I get my buckets of bone broth down at the store. What is this even? What is this video? Just keep going? Is this what is this? It's not even outtakes. I don't know what this is. Anyway, I just figured I should tell you what the brand of the bone broth is I've been talking about this whole stupid episode. Kettle and Fire. It's super good stuff. I've tried a bunch of the flavors. I recommend them. Try them out if you feel like having some bone broth. There are other brands that I've tried out that are good, and I would not recommend just the standard bone broth, the one that doesn't have like the cool flavors and stuff, because it's pretty thin tasting. I don't even know why I'm what? Just turn this off. Go away. Enjoy your new year, which happened last week. Bye-bye.